Hello, and welcome to this first video in the 5-part series on the making of Sunset Rider, a needle-felted picture done on wool felt. Each episode is roughly 20 minutes long. If you would like me to do tutorials on making needle-felted pictures, please leave a comment below and a subject that you would be interested in. I do plan on releasing more videos on the pictures I create in the future. My hope is that it encourages you to have a go at this art form. It's a lot of fun, and I promise you it's not as hard as you may think. This picture came about because I was thinking of all the things I would have liked to do when I was younger, and one of them was ride a horse along the waves on the beach and feel the water splashing up around me. The idea of galloping along seemed wonderful. I am not sure now that I could even get on a horse any more, so those days may have gone, but I can imagine it when I look at this picture. I hope it takes you to a warm evening on a quiet beach, the waves washing in and out, a light, warm breeze blowing on your face, sound of seabirds flying home to the night, and a sense of peace. And with that, I will let you go ahead and watch, and thank you. So having drawn out my picture that I wanted, I'm now mixing together some blue and some white, just some light colours. All I'm really doing is making a beginning layer so that I've got something to work onto. You'll notice that as I go along, I will add extra colours on this, extra blues, make it darker, and it'll almost seem like it was a waste of time putting this light blue on. But I personally find that it helps me visualise adding the colours to it. And the colours of the sky are really made up of lots and lots of fine layers, but you'll see that as we go along. I'm now starting to add the slightly darker layer up in the top corner. What I want to eventually have is that the top corners and along the top itself will be darker because it will help to frame the picture and draw your eye more into the subject. So I now want to mix this light gold and the white together because I want a very, very pale golden background. Again, it's just to start me off so that I can have something to work on. This is going to be the gradients of the sky from the very pale yellow into the kind of orangey colours that make up the sunset look. You don't actually need one of these brushes that I'm using. You could do this by hand if you wanted to. This in actual fact is just a dog brush, so it works really, really well, just saves a bit of time. I'm just going to lay this pale colour that I've made with the orange and the yellow all over the lower part of this sky. I'm now adding some extra yellow into the colour we already have. All I'm going to do is just mix it roughly, because what I find is if I don't mix it too much, it can create some really interesting looks in the sky. You can see here as I'm laying it down that I have some darker yellow bits and still some more of the pale bits, and you can see how it almost creates kind of the look of clouds into the distance. Here I'm mixing a little bit more of the yellow into the base colour that we had, and now you'll see that it's going to make some darker colours across the sky. This will give the effect of the clouds going off into the distance, as you see them where the sun reflects off the clouds that are and makes them the orange colour. All the time I'm building more layers onto the colour of the sky. It's very interesting to see, because if you have a multicoloured thing and you haven't over pulled it and stretched it and mixed it all together, you can find some very, very interesting effects come out. At this point I'm pretty happy with the sky so far, and now what I'm going to do is mix more together, more of the yellow and the white, and make it paler, because what I want to do now is start to make it bright around the sun. So it's going to be a paler yellow around the sun where the light is brightest.
Yeah, we were kids, baby, the time flew by. I mean, we didn't really had a fight. We were never really said goodbye. I can see your face, see your face, see your face, see your face. We just need some peace of mind. I got a feeling we will be alright. I wanna live with you by your side. Do you feel the same? Look in my eyes, into my heart. I know I'm everything you pray for, my love. Been waiting too long to find in the one. I would do everything you ask in my love. Look in my eyes, I know we need time. I know I'm everything you pray for, my love. I've been waiting too long to find in the one. I would do everything you ask in my love. We've been in a lot lately.
Here I've got the white colour and a very, very, very pale bit of the yellow, just because I want the sun to have a warm look to it, but I don't want it to blend into the background. So it's really just a very small touch of yellow into the white. All I'm doing here is building the sun up until I'm happy with the colour of it, adding little bits here and there. These are the little bits I have left from all the mixing I've done, but don't throw these away or get rid of them because you'll want them for the shadows and the highlights later on. Now I'm going to be mixing some blues together because my plan is to blend the yellow into the blue of the sky. I obviously don't want a rough line like it is now, I want a nice smooth mixture. So now it's just laying some very, very fine parts over the two colours. Very, very thin, as you'll see I'm spreading it out. And as I go along I'm going to start to build more darker into the blue sky above. I'm going to attempt to make the corners darker and start to put in some darker clouds. Now when you're doing the clouds into the blue area you really want more purples into it. That's because the light spreads out across the sky and creates different colours. So you're going to get more yellows and oranges nearer the sun, and the further away you come you're going to get more purples and dark blue. Here I'm just taking the completely base colour that we started with, the yellowy orange. I haven't mixed anything with it, and I plan to use this to start making the clouds as they start to come away from the sun. You can really I just roll it in my fingers and plop it down. It's really almost like letting the clouds form themselves. You don't have to be too fussy about it, you just need them not to be like thin lines or something. I tend to use my multi-tool, which you'll have seen me using, to help spread it out. But I really just play around and see what happens. You can always pull them back off if you don't like them. These are the colours I've used really to do the blue sky above. You'll find I've added actually a little bit of purple into this because some of the clouds I want to have the purple look to them, and then I really just go into darker blue. I've done quite a lot on this particular cloud. I keep working at it, but as you'll see later on, I really didn't like it, and I pull it back off again. That's the joy of needle felting. You can pull things away when you don't like them. I'm very happy to see it gone. It was irritating me, that cloud. Now I'm just adding some darker colours across the sky, trying to frame it as I go along. You'll see how I shape the clouds around the edges mainly, but this works really well, and just keep blending and blending, and I stab it a lot with my multi-tool because what that does is it keeps the fibres spread apart. If I were to go in with my individual needle like I'm doing now, it would turn everything into thin lines, it would gather it all together. So I use the multi-tool quite a lot when I want to do things like the sky. I hope you're enjoying this. This is going to be the end of part 1. Please do join me in part 2, and if you've liked what you've seen, please do me a favour and like, share and subscribe. It's really going to help this new channel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.